would like to you explain why it's important to have a will, because I know many people who thinks no, I don't need the will because I don't have nothing. You see, I don't have a house, I don't have business, I don't have nothing. Why I have the will? Because here in Canada is so different. I know that in our original countries, who has the will is the person who has properties, they have money because they need to live to their kids or the person who they want, you see.
Right.
But here in Canada, it's totally different.
So it's important to have a will in Canada because ultimately we're all going to die, and how our estate will be treated is determined whether or not we have a will. If a person dies without a will, they're considered intestate, and there's a piece of statute known as the Succession Law Reform Act. It has default provisions on the distribution scheme of an individual that passes away without a will in relation to their assets, even if they are not significant assets. Therefore, I encourage people to have a will because they may not have a lot of assets, but they would still rather see those distributed per their wishes. And the will captures that. Who the executor would be, who the beneficiaries are, what assets, no matter how big or small, they would like to see going to whom per the will. So it's very important to have a will. And I strongly encourage people to have a will made so that their wishes can be honored once they're dead.
Mr. Wali, the other thing that is important is the power of attorney, because some people don't know, you see, what is the power of attorney and why it's important to have. Because the will is when the people pass away,
Right.
yeah? But the power of attorney, no, is when the people still live, right?
Correct.
Why you think that everyone need to have one also?
So,
or no? What
so
is your
everybody
advice?
needs to be.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to have a power of attorney as well as a will, because like you said, you drew an important distinction. A will obviously comes into play when a person passes away. A power of attorney can come into play, or can be useful rather, in two situations. When the first one, when the person is not available to make decisions,
Disability or something like that?
well, I'm going to get to that, but they may be traveling. So for instance, an individual wants to do something with his bank and he's not in the country and it's urgent. So the person that he has appointed pursuant to the power of will can do that transaction on his behalf, can attend to the bank with the power of attorney and do the banking because the grantor is not in the country. The second situation is the more serious one. What happens if an individual is incapacitated because they had a stroke or some sort of a debilitating condition where now they have mobility issues, they have a hard time going to and fro from the bank, or to just look after the affairs of their life. So it's very important to have a power of attorney, to grant that power to an individual that you trust, that can transact on your behalf in those situations. And power of attorneys can also come in different flavors. You can have a broad power of attorney or a very narrow one. So I'll give you an example. So for instance, if you're traveling to Colombia, you can grant the power of attorney to, let's say, your adult son, just for that transaction. Just for the purposes of selling the house, let's say, if you're selling the house because you're not here.
Yes.
Or they could be very broad, where your son can do a whole host of things in your absence because you're traveling.